Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you've had a fantastic Thursday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. Buckle up, hit that like button, otherwise we'll punch you in the throat, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is this story that involves Lil Nas X and a guy by the name of Pastor Troy. And it appears that Pastor Troy recently got triggered by two things, in fact. One, it appears the Old Town Road singer, and two, mozzarella sticks. And we know that thanks to Pastor Troy going on what some have called a homophobic rant on Instagram, posting this picture of Lil Nas X and writing, "Welp, guess I won't be winning a Grammy if this what I gotta wear. They love to push this shit on our kids." Troy then went on to describe a recent trip that he took to Applebee's with his 14-year-old son, where he says they saw, quote, "some punks kissing and laughing, eating mozzarella sticks." And according to Troy, the first thing his son said was F Applebee's, which he says brought joy to his heart. He sees it, their agenda to take the masculinity from men, black men especially. Some say he making money. RuPaul do too, but I ain't bumping his CD. Integrity is priceless. Y'all better open that third eye and let your sons know what is real, or they ass gonna be headed down that Old Town Road for real. Now that post, it got some support, but there was also a wave of massive backlash. A number of people pointing out there are probably a lot of talent-related reasons as to why he got the Grammy and not so much the outfit. Though, regarding the outfit, Lil Nas X did respond to posting, "Damn, I look good in that pic on God." Lil Nas X and others also memeing the situation, mainly about Pastor Troy's reaction when he sees gay men eating mozzarella sticks. And as far as my reaction to this, one, I know there are going to be a number of people that agree with Pastor Troy. I grew up with a number of people that had this kind of thinking. I also know that a ton of people are going to enjoy dunking on Pastor Troy. But really, one of the main things that stands out to me, and it's more kind of a sad feeling, is it's just kind of a highlighting of someone that's raising their child to be hateful. You know, that just like seeing someone living their life doing something that does not affect you in any way, brings them joy, does not hurt anybody else, that brings anger to your soul. The idea that there's this massive gay agenda, are you worried that they're trying to make the kids gay? Like, is that what you think's happening? Because the only real agenda, if you can even call it that, appears to be just allowing others to be accepted, to make people feel less isolated, to know that they're not alone, to just show that the behavior of making someone feel less than because of the way that they were born is not appropriate. And so that's why I say to Pastor Troy and the Pastor Troys of the world, go fuck yourself. And I will say, it always feels a little bit suspect when unprompted, a man decides to kind of go on a rant like this. I'm not saying anything, it's just, you know, historically a lot of self-hatred has been taught. But anyway, that's the story, my reaction. Moving on. Then let's talk about this controversy around a book called American Dirt, which you may have heard about. And the reason for that is the tensions around it sort of hit a boiling point over the last 24 hours. If you haven't heard of the book, it's a fictional story about a woman who flees from Mexico with her son after the cartel kills her husband. They become migrants heading towards the United States in hopes that they can find safety there. Now, the book actually already hit shelves on January 21st. It was widely regarded as one of the big books to look out for in 2020. In fact, there was so much anticipation, it had so much buzz that it's already been optioned for a film adaptation. Another huge thing for this is that Oprah Winfrey chose it for her book club, saying in an Instagram post, "This story changed the way I see what it means to be a migrant in a whole new way." But the thing is, there's a major controversy now behind who wrote this book, because its author, Janine Cummins, is not Mexican or an immigrant and is mostly white. And many believe that by having a white author tell the story of a Mexican immigrant, they are whitewashing an incredibly relevant story, and that it really should not be Cummins' story to tell in the first place. Now, the controversy around her whiteness contains some nuance. In the story she wrote in the New York Times back in 2015, she says that she is white. She notes that she has a Puerto Rican grandmother, but says that, quote, in every practical way, her family is still mostly white. But in an interview about this book, she says that she is Latinx, while still adding that she felt unqualified to write the story because it is not her lived experience. In fact, in her author's note, she says, "I wished someone slightly browner than me would write it." Now, also in that note, she says that her husband came to the United States as an undocumented immigrant, but there she does not specify that the country that he came to the States from was Ireland, which is obviously a different migration experience than someone trying to cross the Mexican-US border. So with that, a lot of people thought that with this book coming out, Cummins was sort of changing the narrative of her racial identity and her relationship to immigration. But still, the story was being pushed by its publishers as one of the most important books for our times and a new American classic. But as far as when the backlash got really crazy, a lot of that involved Oprah. You had Oprah announcing her book club book, you had Gina Rodriguez and Salma Hayek promoting the selection, and all three of them ended up getting slammed, though it is worth noting that both Gina and Salma deleted their posts. Salma actually apologized for promoting the book without reading it. And among those criticizing the book, you had the likes of Esmeralda Bermudez, who is notably an immigrant herself. Her family came by foot from El Salvador to the United States, and in the LA Times, she wrote about her take on American Dirt, saying, "What made me cringe was immediately realizing that this book was not written for people like me, for immigrants. It was written for everyone else, to enchant them, take them on a wild border-crossing ride, make them feel all fuzzy inside about the immigrant plight, all, unfortunately, with the worst stereotypes, fixations, and inaccuracies about Latinos. Many also started sharing a review written by Miriam Gerba back in December after she read an advanced copy of American Dirt, and there she said that the novel and Cummins appropriated works by people of color, slapped a coat of mayonnaise on the story to make it more palatable to American taste buds, and repackaged the story for colorblind consumption, with others also believing that some of the promotion for the novel was insensitive. Though it is important to note here, some have defended the book. Sandra Cisneros, the Mexican-American author of the acclaimed The House on Mango Street, spoke to NPR about the book, saying that it could reach an audience who, quote, maybe is undecided about issues at the border. It's going to be someone who wants to be entertained, and the story is going to enter like a Trojan horse and change minds. And it's going to change minds that perhaps I can't change. Now, as far as any other fallout and reactions, we saw Oprah taking to Instagram on the book club's account.
I've spent the past few days listening to members of the Latinx community to get a greater understanding of their concerns. And I hear them, I do. So what I want to do is bring people together from all sides to talk about this book and who gets to publish what stories.
But still, you had a lot of people calling for Oprah to remove this book from her book club. There were whole petitions with writers signing. Though, at this time, it does appear that the book has remained on Oprah's book club. And we also saw Flatiron Books, which published American Dirt, canceling the book tour for the novel over safety concerns. In a statement, they said, the discussion around this book has exposed deep inadequacies in how we at Flatiron Books address issues of representation, both in the books we publish and in the teams that work on them. Also adding that they regret the way they rolled everything out, including promotion of it as a definitive story about the migrant experience, talking about Cummins' husband being an undocumented immigrant without noting that he was from Ireland, and using some insensitive concepts when promoting the book. And regarding the cancellation, they said this was based on specific threats to booksellers and the author. We believe there exists real peril to their safety. And so now instead of the book tour, they say they'll be hosting town hall meetings where Cummins can talk about the points being made about her book so the conversation can still continue. But ultimately, that's where we are with this story. And as far as an opinion, I think for me it's hard. Because I think, sure, there are probably a number of people that are angry that it's like, oh, it's this white woman writing a story that she has no connection to whatsoever. But that feels like a small part of the anger. It feels kind of like two things. So one, people feel like she misrepresented herself, or specifically her husband, which is a situation where you have to kind of project intent, right? Was it kind of a fumbling of the situation, or was it done on purpose? And secondly, a big chunk of the anger seems to be focused on the actual content in the book, the stereotypes. And at this point, I have not read the book, so I can't comment on it, but that's also part of the reason these controversies usually lead to the books doing better. While there's a controversy, it's also a ton of free promotion. Like, this is gonna shock you, I don't track Oprah's book club. I did not know that this book existed. But now you, so many others know that it's a thing. It's a part of an ongoing conversation. There is a debate, and curiosity can and often will lead to sales. But hey, that's the story, some of my thoughts, and of course I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts about this whole situation? Also, for my readers out there, have you read this book? What are your thoughts? But from that, I wanna share some stuff I love today and Today in Awesome, brought to you by Audible. If you didn't know, Audible is an amazing platform that has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and members get a credit every month, good for any audiobook in the Audible store, regardless of price, and unused credits automatically roll over to the next month. And the big reason I love Audible is because it gives me the ability to listen on any and all of my devices, anytime, anywhere, at home, at the gym, on my commute, even while I'm traveling. And honestly, audiobooks have just been such a good escape for me. You know, I like to learn, but I also like to kind of turn my brain off, be entertained for a little bit, which actually, on that note, right now, I'm personally enjoying Heads Will Roll, which is an Audible original from Saturday Night Live star Kate McKinnon. It also stars her real-life sister, Emily Lynn. It's a 10-episode star-studded audio comedy that features performances from Meryl Streep, Tim Gunn, Peter Dinklage, Queer Eye's Fab Five, and so many more. And so if you want to join me in checking it out or just signing up, make sure you head on over to audible.com/PhillyD or text PhillyD to 500-500 to get a free audiobook, 2 free Audible originals, and a 30-day free trial. And the first bit of awesome today is a little announcement and tease. You know, ever since I launched Beautiful Bastard, where we sell the pomades, beard oils, candles, there have been a number of requests, things like variety packs, which we now have, but also requests of different products. And one of the biggest ones was shampoos and conditioner, and now we finally have them. I organized this horribly. Yeah, all natural, ethically sourced, cruelty-free, vegan-friendly shampoos and conditioners that actually do the job. They have no parabens, sulfates, silicones, gluten, or harsh detergents. It is color safe. It's also made my hair less oily. There's less dandruff. Overall, it's softer. And I say it's a tease because technically it's not actually going to be available to you until next week. But before then, I am planning to give some away, including on a certain phone number. Apparently this is how I tell secrets. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Then we got 73 questions with Greta Gerwig. We had Ford v Ferrari sound editors breaking down their sound mixing process. Bon Appetit gave us Brad making dry aged steak. We got brand new Rogue Rocket videos if you're craving more news. Hot Ones gave us some more Truth or Dab. Binging with Babbage gave us Chili's. We had James Corden addressing that carpool karaoke scandal. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, really anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about the latest updates around the coronavirus. You know, we've been seeing almost constant updates with the numbers, how many people are dead, how many people have been infected. And this morning, according to Chinese officials, the death toll had risen to 170. The number of cases also continuing to increase. As of this morning, that number had jumped to more than 8,200 cases reported worldwide. And you know, with this story, we've also seen a number of updates from around the world. The World Health Organization has just declared this situation a global health emergency, with its biggest concern being countries with weaker healthcare systems that are ill-prepared to deal with the virus. Just this morning, Russian officials announced that the country was closing its southern border with China. Also in China, the virus is reportedly spread to every region in the country. And there, of course, some cities like that of Wuhan, where the virus was first seen, they remain on lockdown to try to prevent the spread of the virus. In the US, the CDC this morning announced that there are now 6 cases of the coronavirus in the country. Right, and with this, we're seeing big headlines about the first human-to-human transmission in the United States. But there, 1, we already knew that people could give it to one another, it just hadn't happened here yet. And 2, this case actually just involves a woman who gave it to her husband. This after she reportedly directly went to Wuhan and contracted the virus. But also, as kind of an aside, we also saw odd headlines this morning with Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross saying,
"Every American's heart has to go out to the victims of the coronavirus. So I don't want to talk about a victory lap over a very unfortunate, very malignant disease. But the fact is, it does give businesses yet another thing to consider when they go through their review of their supply chain. So I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America, some to U.S., probably some to Mexico as well."
So that is an interesting angle to be looking at. There's also an interesting story involving the coronavirus and Italy, or rather kind of just off of Italy. We're seeing reports now that thousands aboard a cruise ship in Italy aren't being allowed to leave that ship. This because one Chinese woman on that ship came down with a fever. Reportedly, she's also experiencing respiratory problems, both of which are symptoms of the coronavirus, so there are very real fears that she might have contracted it. And so when the ship docked this morning, passengers were told that they could not leave. And reportedly, there's about 6,000 passengers and 1,000 crew members aboard this ship unable to leave. Meanwhile, that woman and her husband, who has not shown symptoms of the virus, were both placed in isolation. Right, and so as medical staff worked to figure out what was causing this woman's symptoms, we saw people waiting on decks and halls with their luggage, all waiting for the announcement of when they could leave. And as far as when that will come, according to the Telegraph, test results are expected to come later today. But if that woman is infected with the virus, everyone on board could be quarantined for up to 2 weeks. However, we're also seeing reports from the Washington Post that 1,143 passengers who plan to get off at this stop would be allowed to leave. Though, notably here, it did not specify when. So right now, we're kind of waiting and everyone's in limbo. And literally, as we were finishing this show today, we saw an update from the Italian health ministry confirming that the woman's test came back negative. She actually has the flu, but according to CNN, we still don't know when passengers will be let off the ship. Also, around this whole outbreak, there's actually another point that I want to hit on. Kind of like with Tuesday where I talked about the flu and how deadly this season has been, I want to put this outbreak into perspective, especially since as of this morning, we're seeing reports that it has surpassed the early 2000s outbreak of SARS in China, right? Severe acute respiratory syndrome, which is also caused by a coronavirus, right? And that virus infected nearly 8,100 people from November 2002 to August 2003, right? And by comparison, the first case of this new coronavirus occurred on New Year's Eve. The numbers look kind of scary, right? You're looking at the difference of 9 months to 1 month. And here's the thing with that, there are a few differences. All the findings with SARS was that it was really only contagious once people showed symptoms, right? They had a fever, they were coughing. However, with this new coronavirus, China's National Health Commission has said that it can actually spread during the incubation phase, which is the period where you're infected but might not know yet because you aren't showing any symptoms, which is also why you're seeing kind of the 2-week quarantines and such, and why the number of cases has accelerated so fast because you don't even know you have it. But this morning you also had a lot of media outlets talking about this new virus overtaking SARS's record. Some giving context by mentioning that incubation phase, other major outlets just skipping over that completely with salacious headlines. Also a number of outlets not mentioning that this is so much less deadly than SARS was. Right, and when you look at headlines like that, maybe you're like, oh, well, this is some sort of super virus. But just knowing about that incubation phase part could change the question. And also, prevention. Right? It's part of the reason it's spreading so fast because people just don't know they have it and can't catch it early. But with all of this, the number of cases, the cruise ship, the SARS comparison, we're also seeing a ton of fear and xenophobia. So much so that we're now seeing doctors trying to better educate people as we see the constant updates, these scary headlines. I mean, yesterday we saw Dr. Mike over on his channel posting a whole video about the situation, telling people to be alert, not anxious. Also urging people to make sure they're getting information from reputable places like the CDC and the World Health Organization. And with this, we see Dr. Mike posing a question that I think a lot of people probably have when they first heard the story.
Now you may be wondering to yourself, is this a dangerous virus? Well, the answer is it depends. It can become severe in about 20% of cases, leading to pneumonia or acute respiratory distress syndrome, leading to ventilation or even death in some circumstances. For those of you who are living in the US, this is certainly a potential threat we should be on the lookout for. With all the international travel that goes on in the world today, it's very easy to spread a virus from one country to another. That being said, with only 5 cases here in the US, with 0 deaths thus far, this is not a crisis and not a reason to panic. There's been many headlines in media that are trying to scare you into panicking because it urges you to click. And when you click, they earn money. Do not fall for this.
And so I think with this situation, the main key points: alert, not anxious. Caution. And I think that's something that we kind of just have to remember, repeat, because in a situation like this, it's very easy for feelings to take over. Because much like this virus, an unwarranted level of fear and panic can spread very easily if not properly managed. But with that said, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on the story at hand, both with the coronavirus and the coverage we've seen with it. And that is where I'm going to end today's show. Thanks again for watching my little daily news show. We love having you. And remember, if you're looking for more to watch, you can check out yesterday's Philip DeFranco show. Maybe you missed it, you want to catch up, or check out my brand new podcast with Gus Johnson. Click or tap right there to watch either of those right now. But with that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you next time.
I hope you liked this video. Subscribe if you like it.